Hello fellow psychonauts, welcome back to Interbeing Art. Last week we watched the painfully awful attempt at the doctors smoking salvia on TV. This week we're going to be watching Dr. Phil discuss the topic. Now as you could probably guess, salvia is not represented the best on this show. So what I'm going to do is pause and counter every false claim that is made on this show. But first I just wanted to announce that to show my appreciation for my patrons, that I started to draw and designate little interbeing characters for each one of my patrons. Like honestly, I love making these videos, I love discussing salvia, and it's really thanks to everyone viewing this right now and my patrons that I'm able to keep going. So if you would like your own little interbeing, then just sign up on Patreon and you'll get one the following month. Alright, buckle up because we're about to jump into a trash fire.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, a drug as potent as LSD.
Okay, so no. Salvinorin A is not as potent as LSD. Chemically and pharmacologically, they are completely different. Their durations are different and their effects are different. Immediately showing people holding their heads and groaning, making it look as scary as possible. Great representation, great.
It is legal. The warning signs to look for before your teen tries it.
Saying it is legal as if it's a bad thing, as if our all-knowing just criminal system should be making this illegal in order to make us safe. It's just wrong on so many levels. We'll get back to that.
Even in your straight A student.
Oh boy. This is directly implying that if you're getting bad grades, you're more likely to be getting involved in drugs and more likely to be getting involved in bad sort of lifestyles that are frowned upon by our culture. Heavily painting this picture that it is a phenomenon used by teens irresponsibly, is going to mess with their grades and mess with their heads. Yes, it bugs me a little bit.
It's called Salvia, and it's perfectly legal to buy, even though some say it's as dangerous as LSD.
Salvia's exposure on websites like MySpace and YouTube have made a whole generation aware of it.
Well, what you were just looking at were some teens that are high on something called Salvia divinorum. Now, here's the deal. Let me show you this. This is Salvia, and this is Salvia, and this is Salvia.
Here he's showing 3 different varieties of salvia, but not really emphasizing why these are different. The small purple packages he was showing were extracts. They're concentrated and much more powerful. With an extract, you only need to take 1 to 3 hits in order to be plunged into an extremely intense visionary experience. Whereas this gigantic bag of plain leaf, which I've never personally seen in any convenience store, you would have to smoke a ton of that in order to feel anything at all. Imagine you wanted to smoke salvia and don't really know much about it. You smoke plain leaf and feel next to nothing. Next time you smoke it, you smoke an extract. You would not be expecting such an intense experience because you've already smoked that plain leaf. You have to know the difference between extracts and plain leaf. When salvia is sold as 10x or 20x, that number means 10 times more concentrated than plain leaf, or 20 times more concentrated than plain leaf. It's an extremely important difference to know because a lot of people for their first time will try something like 60x or 80x, which is just very dangerous to try for your first time because of the intensity of the experience.
To this show, I mentioned to my producers that I'd like to have some to show you parents what it is. It took them less than 30 minutes to leave the studio here at Paramount and go out and buy these. This bag was $40. I think these were like 20 bucks a piece or something like that. Now, what we're talking about here is a hallucinogenic.
He's saying hallucinogenic as if it's a bad thing again. He's specifically speaking to parents. He's like, I wanted to show you parents. He's not trying to give teens or anybody who's actually using salvia useful information about the dangers and the benefits of a substance. He is simply fear-mongering to parents who wield power over their children. All this achieves is further alienating drug users, depriving people of proper information and resources to know what drugs they're using and how much to use and how to use it.
And it is legal. It's estimated that 1.8 million Americans aged 12 or older.
They really had to make sure to cut to those moms shaking their head in disapproval there, eh?
Have used this drug which is legal in 43 states. It's like LSD, except anybody can just walk in and buy it.
It's not like
LSD.
LSD you absorb on your tongue and you have an 8-hour experience. Salvia, you smoke and you have a 2-minute intense out-of-body visionary experience. They're just not the same thing.
Now, teens aren't just smoking, snorting, or drinking this drug. They're recording themselves while getting high and then posting the videos of their trips on YouTube.
Dr. Phil, they only smoke this substance. No one's drinking or snorting salvia. The traditional method is to chew the fresh leaves of the Salvia divinorum plant, but that's not what's being sold in convenience stores. The vast majority of people experimenting with salvia is smoking extracts.
So I want you to look at some of the clips that we found online. Now, the first girl is waving her arms and flailing around after she gets high.
As long as you can.
Now, this boy gets high and then just falls to the ground. This boy is being taped by another friend while he's hallucinating, and this girl just falls over on the couch. You'll see her. She's smoking this stuff. It takes just a matter of a few seconds, and then bang, down on the floor. And this girl is just waving her hands while she's getting high. So what's the appeal?
So what's the appeal, Dr. Phil? As far as we can tell, what's being shown on this camera, it's not much different than legal highs of alcohol. This is exactly what people do on alcohol. They dance around and fall over, except with alcohol, it's actually toxic. You can overdose on it, as well as having major habit-forming tendencies. The major danger that was being showed there was that when people fall over, it's really good to have people there to make sure that you fall safely. The one video where that person was falling off the couch, the people filming were actually doing a pretty good job of trip sitting. They moved the table for her so she wouldn't hit her head, and that's why it's good to have a trip sitter with this substance, because it is possible to fall over after you smoke it.
Flailing, and you can barely understand anything being said. So you got to wonder, why would they do this? Well, it doesn't take you long to answer that. I mean, it's something different. It's something new. It's something that's kind of on the edge, and teens like to be on the edge.
So this is Dr. Phil's understanding of why a teen might want to try salvia. It's because it's on the edge. I have to ask Dr. Phil, the edge of what? Yeah, like I get that it's a novel experience, but why would we be drawn to novel experiences? Like here he is purposely trying to undermine why teens might want to try this and make it sound like it's like a frivolous thing, that teens are just stupid and they need to be protected. They don't realize the dangers they're getting into. It's not just teens smoking this substance. It's not just for novelty or whatever. There are many more reasons why people would be wanting to try new substances and experiment. This attitude does not promote teens wanting to come to their parents and talk about these substances, about the dangers and the benefits of them. Instead, it drives teens to do this in secrecy, alienating people. When you fearmonger this hard, you really make it seem like there is no redeemable value to salvia, all risk and no benefit. Parents will only have the misinformation to talk to their kids about it. If all you know about salvia is what Dr. Phil tells you, no teen of yours is going to want to come to you and talk about using the substance. Oh, it pisses me off.
High school teacher who says she's concerned about her 16-year-old son Jerry's salvia abuse.
Salvia has become such a part of Jerry's life that all he does is eat, sleep, play video games, and smoke. I am worried about how salvia will affect his brain. Jerry has been in the 9th grade for 3 years. He hasn't made any progress. As a school teacher, I'm concerned about his grades, and it's frustrating me.
Okay. This person is held back in 9th grade for 3 years. There has been articles and studies, at least since the 1960s, that state that holding kids back in grades actually makes it harder for them to learn and just living life after school. It makes people feel like stupid failures. And this mother, it really seems she cares more about this child's grades than she does care about his health or his psychology. The fact that he's been held back for 3 years must be really hard on this kid. Fuck, man.
About Jerry progressing from salvia to harder drugs like cocaine and heroin because it could lead to his death.
I usually only smoke salvia at home because it's pretty intense. I sometimes think about quitting salvia, but like I said, when I'm bored, that's what I do. I'm like addicted to it.
I don't know, like there is a chance that somehow the Dr. Phil show found the single only person to have ever been addicted to salvia. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it is completely impossible to get addicted to this substance. However, it has been thoroughly noted that salvia is actually anti-addictive, as in most people who try it only try it once because of how intense it is, and scientists are actually researching this chemical in order to help people get off of cocaine. Gateway drugs are not a thing. If someone tries pot, that does not mean that they're gonna try cocaine. If someone tries salvia, that does not mean they're gonna try cocaine. It's not like an escalation of soft to hard drugs. The amount of misinformation here just like boggles my mind.
You are using a drug that impairs your brain to the point of lack of contact with reality, distorting to the point of actually having visual hallucinations, which are consistent with the most extreme forms of schizophrenia.
Okay, well, that was appalling. Thousands of cultures around the world regularly use visionary experiences for all sorts of different purposes. Yeah, like schizophrenia, you can have hallucinations too, but that doesn't mean having a visionary experience on a drug is just as bad as schizophrenia. It also implies that if you have schizophrenia, that you're like inherently bad, when that's also not true. You can have schizophrenia and lead a healthy life. Like, this dude's a psychologist, and he just shit on everyone who likes to have visionary experiences, every culture that likes visionary experiences, and implied that it's inherently negative to have schizophrenia. Okay, wow, good one, Dr. Phil. Professional. Makes me wonder why you didn't renew your license to practice psychology.
So that's how far out this is taking you in your experiences, and you're giving it to your son. And you say it's taking away his motivation. It's certainly contributed to it. You say he is addicted to it.
I know if he's addicted, and how do I know if he needs help?
Well, I'm going to tell you that he is.
Cue laugh track.
And that he does. And we're going to get some professional help to intervene in this and see if we can unravel it some. Okay? Seriously, right away.
This is why you should not do psychological counseling in front of a live TV audience. The last thing you need is people laughing at you, making you feel dumb while you're trying to get therapy and help. Okay, yeah, so that's all of the clip I have. There is more clips out there that I couldn't get. There was a scene where he talked with a person from Texas who was trying to get salvia illegal, and Dr. Phil was thanking him for his efforts in trying to get this substance scheduled. Now, if you're an objective, unbiased, professional, maybe you might want to look at the effects of making substances illegal on the addiction rates. As you can see here, as the funding increased for criminalizing and penalizing drug use, the funding has skyrocketed over the last 50 years while completely unaffecting the addiction rates. Maybe at this point we should start moving toward different models of trying to protect people from drug abuse, trying to understand why people use drugs to begin with, why people get addicted to these substances. Majority of people in prison are based off of drug-related offenses. Couple that with the fact that privatized prisons is now a thing. People are literally benefiting off of prison labor. Yeah, so this makes me more than a little angry, if I'm gonna be honest. Just so sick of hearing all this false information about drugs, demonizing people for wanting to use it, just the lack of empathy and understanding of why people would like to use it. But yeah, the substance isn't for everyone, but I want to get the proper information out there so people know what the risks are. Then you can judge for yourself if you want to try it, if this is an experience that you want to try. And that concludes this video. Join me next week for another salvia-based video. Thank you once again to all of my patrons. I'm sorry, last week my export messed up and I like pointed to a blank wall and none of the patrons' names came up. So are they there now? They actually there? If you want to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/interbeingart or make a one-time donation at paypal.me/interbeingart. For every person that comments Philanorum McGraw, my cat Mitz here will get 1 head pat. I hope you stay safe out there during these hard times. Trip safe, everyone.